On the first half, we're fighting 2 Ruin Sentinels and 2 Ruin Drakes. I'm using a freeze team to help prevent the enemies from moving around too much, and also for dealing AoE cryo damage to all 4 enemies at the same time. In general, most teams that can deal strong AoE damage are good choices on this half, such as Taser, Overlord, or Burgeon teams. I found that the hardest part of this half is trying to keep the 2 Ruin Drakes together. They have really large unit collision, so even when they're right next to each other, they're still not super tightly packed. One trick that helped me was to focus the Ruin Sentinel in between them rather than focusing either one of the Drakes. I try to make sure my target cursor is on top of the Ruin Sentinel before I use my AoE abilities. The goal is to land my abilities right in between the 2 Ruin Drakes so that I can deal AoE damage to both of them at the same time. Throughout the fight, I try to keep track of the Drake's HP bars and switch my focus to whichever one is healthier. After my first rotation, the Ruin Sentinel that I was using as a focal point is already dead. From this point on, I'll just have to try my best to plant my AoE damage in between the Drakes and also watch their HP bars and try to keep them even. On the second half, we're fighting our good old friend Magu Kenki. He is invulnerable for the first 10 seconds of the fight, but your skills will still generate energy particles in case you need to fill up on energy. For this half, I recommend a team that can deal a lot of single target DPS. I'm using a national team variant here with Heizo filling in as my Thrilling Tales VB buffer. I also purposely did not use Heizo's burst in my rotation because I want to save that to iframe the boss's stronger attacks. When I see the boss charging up, I swap to Heizo and get ready to use his burst to iframe the damage. This is something that you'll see me doing repeatedly throughout the fight. Magu Kenki has a lot of attacks that have a long windup and deal a lot of damage. You can use a well-timed dash to avoid damage from these attacks, but for safer, more consistent clears, I recommend reserving one of your bursts to use as a panic button. My Heizo is using a level 1 Thrilling Tales, so his burst isn't contributing much damage to my overall rotation. This makes him a great candidate for me to use his burst as a safety net instead. At around 70% HP, Magu Kenki will become invulnerable and start charging up a very powerful attack. Again, I recommend having at least one burst available to iframe this damage. As a personal benchmark, I aim to have enough DPS to bring him down to this threshold with one rotation. After his attack, one key thing is to position yourself so that the boss's back is facing the wall of the arena. On either his first or second move of this phase, he will use an attack that causes him to dash backwards. The wall will block him from dashing away too far so that you can catch up to him quickly. Here's another example of how keeping the boss's back to the wall prevented him from getting too far away and saved me the trouble of chasing him. The caveat to this though is that if the boss is too close to the wall, he'll use a different dash attack that brings him back to the center of the arena. So if it looks like he's pressed too tight up against the wall, fight him from a sideways angle or step away a bit to give him some breathing room. I got incredibly lucky here with the unit collision and angle that caused me to travel with him when he used this dash attack. This is not typical and you will usually have to chase him back down. The builds are in the video description, and as always, thank you so much for watching.